Hey everybody, welcome to Quentin's Enginewerks. Now, ordinarily, we try to stay somewhat family-oriented and try and keep it G-rated, but from time to time, topics come up or words come up that may be considered a little bit offensive to people. So for that reason, parental guidance is strongly suggested. So guide your parents out of the room because we're going to have some fun. This is Quentin's Enginewerks. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. My name's Quentin. I'm going to be your host. You're our viewers. Our guest today is Bryan SilverBax. Bryan has been our cover artist for many things. He's created some characters along the way. We're going to learn a bit about those characters tonight. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Q. Do you go by Q or do you go by Quentin?
I go Q, actually. My full name is Quentin, but the Quentin's Enginewerks things actually started with a thing back in high school. My buddy was over in Seattle for something, and he stumbled across that, this little thing that says Quentin Enginewerks. The Enginewerks was misspelled and all that, and and he brought it back for me. And it's been a decoration in my room for forever. And then I started putting it on the comic book reviews I do because somebody was stealing my photos and using them to list their personal comic books to list comic books that they were trying to sell on Facebook and eBay. So I went enough of that. And when I came over to the Indie Comics Dispatch, that after doing reviews for them for a while, when we started the show, they thought it would be fitting to call it Quentin's Enginewerks.
That is a very unique story, man. But yeah, I'm happy to be here, Q Dog. Although I think Q Dog is more of a fraternity thing. That's the that was
well, when I was in high school, Snoop Dogg was very big. There were a lot of people that called me Q Dog.
Yeah, I believe that's a term for fraternity guys, or like a set of fraternities.
Oh, we're gonna have fun tonight. I can feel it.
Good thing you told everybody to put the kids to bed because shit's going to get crazy. Because what's going to happen is Bryan's going to get very passionate about making comics and being creative and fucking being good people. Like it's just going to get out of control. I'm going to get excited.
Excited is good. I've got a lead-off question that I ask every single viewer or every single guest that comes on the show, just to kind of gauge things for people. We all have our Mount Rushmores for pop culture and whatnot. For me, you can tell for the most part I'm a child of the '80s. My Mount Rushmore, it's Star Wars, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Lord of the Rings, and to me it counts because I grew up watching the animated Hobbit. For my honorable mention, it's He-Man, Thundercats.
You only love one honorable mention, man. You might as well just name all the cool shit. Like I've got an Intertech gun over here. I've got my Garbage Pail Kids over here. Like you could just be like my Mount Rushmore. It's just like the whole mountain ridge. Like I would just put a bunch of cool shit. But if you say what goes on my Mount Rushmore of fandoms, I'm not sure what answer I gave you earlier, but I know that when I was younger, Masters of the Universe and He-Man was very, very big for me, for my brother and I. Like that was
absolutely.
So we collected the shit out of those things because we were in the prime demographic. I think 83 is when they started coming out, maybe.
Right around then. I don't remember the exact year. I remember I had most of them too.
In 1983, I am, 8 years old, right? That's the prime. Can we go buy these? And so I got to grow, like getting the Battle Bones, and my brother and I really had a lot of fun. So He-Man for me was something that my brother and I really that helped us when we were growing up. So He-Man was first, and then on my personal journey, like I went to G.I. Joe. Like I started collecting G.I. Joes. So it was fun for me to just get all the different the little cards that go on the back, like the file card.
Those file cards?
Yeah. So that was my goal, is to get all of the file cards that existed for everybody, even if I didn't have the figure. But so I sent off for Sergeant Slaughter and refrigerator Perry.
You had the fridge?
Yeah.
Oh,
I ordered it because, dude, I'm old enough that I actually watched the Super Bowl where he participated with the Super Bowl shuffle, the whole Jim McMahon, I ain't here to cause no trouble. I'm just here to do the Super Bowl shuffle. Like that. I was in Oklahoma watching those games.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't seem to find, I can't, I'm not sure how well you can see it. I've got a case of all sorts of G.I. Joe and Star Wars figures behind me. The fridge is on my want list. I can't seem to find him for under $40. And
well, I don't let me be clear. I don't have any of them now because when I turned 13, my parents bought me a BB gun and said, you're responsible. And the BB gun had a scope on it. So all of my He-Man made it to the back of the yard and I practiced my BB gun skills. So all of my He-Man figures died that way. Whereas all my G.I. Joe figures met the tragic end of like just being left outside because my brother and I would divvy some up. Like you take this half and I'll take this half and we would set them in the dirt. And our job was to take what we call dirt clods and just throw them at the other guys to see how many. It was like playing Battleship. Like you throw them and see how many you can knock down. As long as you had guys still standing up, you were good. So we would do that, and I think they got left all out by the creek. Like I don't think we picked up our toys and didn't go back. So they're probably buried still back in the back of this very backyard.
Yeah, for me the G.I. Joe figures, a lot of them had to went to my stepbrother who didn't even want them, which kind of pissed me off. But even before then, I realized that little screw in the back you could undo. You could take the figures apart and and accessorize, make it because I like Darklon. I really liked his head, but the body was kind of messed up. So I figured, okay, we'll go with something else for that, and. Basically, played Frankenstein with all these different figures to get, my 3 or 4 that I really liked along the way.
Yeah, I don't remember who I put down for the other 2 Mount Rushmore. Maybe I might put it down the X-Men, and I meant that as a whole, like because X-Men, the comic books, is what got me into comic books first. And then when the television cartoon show came out, like I was all about that. I was deep into my appreciation and my fandom of all things X-Men to that point. So without being just like a animated series nut or just a comic book nut, like I was buying anything X-Men related at that time.
I remember, X-Men I wasn't too familiar with. I remember on that old cartoon Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Periodically, obviously you had Iceman on there, but but sometimes you'd get some of the others, but for the most part you didn't see too much of them from what I remember. I remember the one with Juggernaut coming on, that that was really cool. And then I realized, hey, they just made a cartoon version of a Spider-Man book. Yeah, well,
I think all of that stuff is now available on the Disney Plus network, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's right. All the animated Spider-Man stuff is on the the Disney Plus, but none of the Spider-Man with Tom Holland, nor the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't think those are on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which stream, because I remember seeing that they were available on a streaming service, but I don't remember which one. The Into the Spider-Verse I really liked, but it also demonstrated here's what's wrong with Marvel. You have what, 5-6 different parallel universes, and as for trying to keep up. Okay, which universe are we in now? And the writers, it seems like they're expecting the fans to be complete subject matter experts on this, and I try to stay up on things, but it doesn't work out that well for me. How about you?
With all the streaming services, it is getting to it's getting back to paying like what you were paying for cable. You know what I mean? Like I have, the Snyderverse, Snyder Cut was coming out, so I had to buy HBO Max, and then I was already ordering all the stuff from Amazon, so I got Amazon Prime, so I could watch The Boys now. I've already got Netflix. I got Disney Plus. Like, holy shit, man! I got a Peacock, but now at least on the Peacock you can get some wrestling.
Nice. So who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
Dude, I have a different appreciation for wrestlers now than I did when I first started. So, when I first started, it was the Von Erichs. Like, I was big on the Kerry Von Erich and the Von Erich family and the Kabuki. And then like wrestling turned into like everybody who was on the cartoon with Hulk Hogan, like Junkyard Dog, Big John Studd, Coco Beware, all those guys that were on the cartoon. I enjoyed those. And the Ultimate Warrior, of course. It was the Ultimate Warrior. And then that graduated into Sting. Like, I was a big Sting fan. And then I kind of fell off of wrestling up until the 90s. And then it was everybody, dude. I was a fan of The Rock. The Rock is the character, and I separate Dwayne Johnson from The Rock because the character of The Rock, I think helped break Bryan out of his shell of who he was. So I have not lost my appreciation for The Rock nor Dwayne Johnson, and so now currently I'm really digging, I just like AEW in general, the new AEW stuff. So I don't know that I have a favorite. I'm just a big fan that the promotion is being successful.
Yeah. For me, I was really big on Undertaker and Sting. When Sting was still WCW. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
But somewhere in the around in mid '90s, there were a lot of geek things that I drifted away from in favor. I was the jock for a little while, and and had discovered girls. More appropriately, girls had discovered me, and I was going, "Thank you, God."
All right, so I made it all the way through high school without girls discovering me.
But so wrestling fell off by the wayside because because I remember being in middle school watching those guys. It was American Gladiators came on, then professional wrestling.
Yeah,
and so it was 2 hours.
Gladiators.
So it was 2 hours every Saturday of if bust it in the gym, and and eventually you could get you too can look like that. The part they neglect to mention is how many hours do you have to spend in the gym to make that happen?
Yeah, like that has to be your whole job, like the rest of us are trying to get that body and that physique in our spare time, where that's their 40-hour week job. So that's them going to work. Yeah. So we have to do that in addition to going to work because that's not our job.
Well, and I've accepted that, and I've accepted I will never be that ripped, and I figured out a way to make, to accept this, and, my consolation prize to this, for you, for me, for a lot of the guys we know, because at the gym, a guy can make any part of his body huge, except one.
Yeah.
And by comparison, when you get that ripped, that one looks smaller.
Yeah, I'm past the age of giving a shit about stuff like that. So.
Fair enough. I'm not too far behind you there. I know there's times given a choice between sleep or sex, I'll take the sleep and hope I have a dream about sex.
Yeah, I have too much. I usually, for me, like just as someone who is trying to keep their head above water and continue to create content, like I always should feel like I should be working on something. because no one's going to give me anything. So if I have time, I need to put it to good use.
I can appreciate that. So as a creator, what characters were your favorites growing up?
As far as like what, just comic books, or I don't remember this on the pre-question. I guess you sent it to me too far in advance because I don't fucking remember any of this. Did I answer? Did you ask me that question before?
Yeah.
What did I put down?
Yeah. Originally you said it was Wolverine or Lobo, but people can change their mind. Okay, so I like to ask.
I may have interpreted it like, who was your favorite comic book characters growing up? Like, if that's the way I'm reading into that question, then yes. First, okay. I discovered the character of Wolverine. First off, he was a bad guy. He had his cigar, and he was like really like, oh, I'll do it when I want to. That attitude of his. And the fact that he was so down to scrap, I really appreciated that, because I was a very scared kid who was smaller than, I was very, very thin. I was very easy to pick on. I had this big fucking nose and this curly hair. I was not the guy that's going to pull poon, right? So that the attitude that Wolverine that Logan had was like the complete opposite. So I wanted to be that way and like not be fucked with. I wanted to be so badass that people would be afraid to fuck with me. And so I enjoyed that character. And that's who I picked out of the X-Men to be like, I like that guy. And
I can respect that.
And so in Lobo for me was a slightly altered reality version of Wolverine, but in a more cosmic nature.
Yeah. And to me, Lobo was like Wolverine in space.
Yeah. Well, what my introduction to Lobo was the 4-issue miniseries that was done by Simon Bisley, and like the artwork in that book was just so, it felt unrefined, but it looked so good to me. Like I didn't know what to think when I saw the artwork, but I knew I liked it because I liked looking at Boris Vallejo did a lot of fantasy paintings, and I liked that Conan style artwork, that Frazetta style. And then here's Bisley doing something similar, but a lot more distorted and funky. So that, and so I don't know if I would have as much appreciation for Lobo if I hadn't have been introduced to Lobo through the Bisley art.
Okay. And speaking, being introduced to art, a little over about a year and month, year and change ago, I was on social media. I saw an ash can.
Yeah, man.
Called Loggerhead. This guy that there was this guy that was on social media, Bryan something or other. I was just going, okay, that looks. The cover had, that cover had me going, that looks awesome, and it piqued my curiosity. And if I remember, I bought like a 3 or 4, 3 of them, and got when they arrived, I read one, doled a couple out to a couple of my friends, and and they were going, this is pretty cool, when it came, for anybody who's not familiar with Loggerhead, what can you tell us about him?
All right, so I would say in maybe 2015, 2016, I had started to think about creating my own comic book universe. And while doing that, and that comic book universe turned into Kiera Prime. But at that time, I was trying to create like my version of known characters, so that when I create my world, I could have I have my Wolverine, I have my Spider-Man, I've got my Batman. Like I was kind of thinking like that. And that's, first off, I don't think that that's the way people should go into it. I think I was very naive in just trying to create counterfeit superheroes. Like the Walmart brand of Batman is what I was trying to make. But that was my mindset at the time. So let's just preface with that. That was my mindset at the time.
Okay.
But So with that, I was like, I need a brute as far as like my characters. I got my scrapper, I've got my anti-hero, I've got my bad guy. I was like, you know what? I need to create like a Hulk type character, like a guy that just is down to fuck stuff up. And that's where I created, I was like, well, what do I need? I wanted something different. I wanted a creature that, or some sort of person that stood out and couldn't be confused for anything else. To be like, oh, well, that's just Deadpool, but instead of red, he's yellow. Like, I didn't want to have something. So I was trying to think of some sort of anamorphic thing that I had not seen done like that. And I really needed something vicious and a don't fuck with me attitude type animal. And when I saw the alligator snapping turtle, I was like, that's exactly what it is. Like, they look mean as shit, and they don't go and seek to cause damage to anything. But if there's damage that needs to be taken care of, they'll do it.
Okay.
And so that's where I was like, I'm gonna have this big, and then so I came up with the idea of having him be a snapping turtle. But I was like, well, I wonder what kind of names, like what kind of slang names do they have in the bayou and shit like that. So it took me a while to realize that I liked that they were also referred to as loggerheads. I was like, all right, well, that doesn't sound exactly cool, but I can get on board. But let's see, for me, I wanted something like Bigfoot.
Okay.
Something like, see, loggerhead for me in my brain, it had too many syllables. I need 1, 2, and loggerhead, like that's 3. So it's kind of like, so
there have been other times in comic book history that's worked out pretty damn well. Juggernaut.
Yeah, well, I wasn't thinking like that, and for me, calling it like, I was like, are they going to think he's Pumpkinhead, or, so I was trepidatious about naming it, and then after I did all the work, I realized I Googled the word loggerhead later and realized that it's a more popular name for sea turtles. So yes, loggerhead does refer to a large breed of alligator snapping turtles, but more commonly it's used to describe large sea turtles, which aren't quite as vicious looking.
Yeah, but hey, that's where your artistic talent took over, and we have a kick-ass character now.
I appreciate it, man. So yeah, so that cover for that book is, I was like, I didn't want to give away what loggerhead looked like, but I wanted the cover to be interesting enough for you to pick it up and want to see the inside. So that's why I was like, we'll just have this big green scaly hand popping the back of somebody's head open, and that should get some people's attention when it's on the shelf.
Oh, it got my attention just on social media. I was going, what the hell is that?
So the idea was, if in a perfect world, I wouldn't have to do the pre-release to get people to buy it. Like that way I could have not shown anybody, what loggerhead looked like, because the idea is that you pick that book up. That was going to be the original cover for the whole book. So you would look at that cover and just see the hand. And then on page 3, you kind of just see a silhouette. And then on page 4, all you see is his hands doing damage to folks. And you really don't see loggerhead until like page 17 or some shit in the back of the book. So I wanted, it was designed to be like a slow, like, I can't wait to get to the part where I get to see what this guy looks like. But in this world that we live in, I have to hype that book up through social media and Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and people respond to images. So I had to already show them what loggerhead looked like, just to be like, oh, where do I get more of that? So that's just how it turned out.
Yeah. I personally, I think it worked out well, because Scout Comics had had that come out, and they even had Star Bastard Loggerhead, which I just earlier this week I read it, did a review on it, and I almost pissed myself in a couple places. It was hilarious.
Yeah, Well, that is all Andrew. Andrew is the creator of Star Bastard. So when I started dealing with Scout, I was still working on Loggerhead, or we were waiting because there was a lot of COVID delaying the release of the Loggerhead Bloody Bayou. So in that time, I reached out to another creator at Scout who, and I really liked the Star Bastard series, and I said, Andrew, do you think there's any way we can work together? And he was like, well, maybe we could just try to do like a one shot with Star Bastard and Loggerhead. And I was like, dude, that'd be awesome, because I really respected Andrew and what he does and how much work he has already put into the game of comic books. For him to say, yeah, let's do it, I was like, dude, whatever you need. So he did the entire writing to make sure that both of our characters were represented properly. And then I had to go and I had to go back in and work with him on the dialogue, because in that book that you just showed, the Loggerhead #1, the Bloody Bayou, the Loggerhead doesn't even speak in that book. So there's no words. So in when Andrew wrote this script, there was dialogue for Loggerhead. And so it was tough. I hadn't put that much thought into how he would speak or what kind of, so that was a fun aspect for me to work with Andrew on that.
Yeah, I really liked how Loggerhead kept calling Greaves Grover. That was a nice touch.
I think it's just to keep his ego in check.
Oh God knows Greaves has enough ego to go around. To me, I loved it because it reminded me of everything from the arena in Thor Ragnarok a lot. Only much funnier.
The whole story is very Ragnarokian, and that's not a knock on Andrew. There's only so much you can do with 20 pages and introducing two characters that have no backstory with each other. And how can we get these two completely characters from different worlds to interact? Oh, well, we can just like put them in this, generic scenario, and then we can write it better than it's been done. So that's what, I mean, yeah, the whole thing is a MacGuffin to get the two characters together, but we tried to just have fun with it. Oh,
and it was. I think I used that word to describe it several times over the course of the review. I was up front. Hey, it reads like an action movie. So if you're looking for the Great American Novel, that's not it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anything that I am going to be a part of is probably more like popcorn value, as opposed to like sit back and be like, yo, I think this guy's onto something grand.
I beg to differ, sir, because
I have nothing to do with that book, though.
That is your work on the covers.
That's my work on the cover, but everything that makes people enjoy that book is nothing to do with me. It's all Jonathan and Gabbo at that point. Like, so it's all the creative team. Like, I just and the way that came to be is so through Scout, I saw that they had new projects coming up. And I really liked the initial artwork that they were posting in the chat boards and stuff. And I reached out to Jonathan, who I'd never talked to before. And I said, hey, man, I'd really like to see about working with you on getting a variant cover for this book you've got called The Recount. And so his response to me was, basically, I was waiting for you to ask. And I was like, well, let's fucking do it. And then so when we originally talked, Andrew said, Andrew, what's his name?
Jonathan.
Originally, Jonathan had said, I have 4 issues that I want to do, and I want each one to have like a movie poster cover. And he gave me the list of movies, and then we kind of played with the order, and we kind of played to my strengths as far as what I could do on a cover. I was like, well, let's do this, this, and this. And he was like, let's do one and see how that works. And that was the Scarface one. And then we did the Heat one. And then we did the Dead Presidents one. And then we did this last one that will be revealed on the 26th of March.
That would be tomorrow.
Someone could listen to this in hindsight and I don't want them to think, oh, well, I have to wait till tomorrow when it's like a month from now.
Oh, good point. I hadn't thought about that part of it. With you've done a lot of the different covers and whatnot for some of the people there at Scout. One of the other ones that I saw,
the shit show. So that's and working with getting to land this one, I was a big early fan of Adam's book. It was just called The Shit Show. I had no idea what it was, but I was like, dude, that title is perfect. I love it. How can I be of service? So I offered my services, and he said, and then we landed on doing the Goonies cover. And then by the and that was very early. I think it was like January of last year when this started getting talked around Scout. And so at that point, I was the first variant cover that he had worked with. But then when it came time to release around Christmas time, they had so many other covers commissioned and everything that mine didn't make it to the B cover pile. So the collective in Florida picked this up as their store variant. So now you can only get this copy through the collective in Florida.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Are you familiar with the story at all now, or for Shit Show?
Well, I'm saying when I first talked to him, I didn't know anything other than the name. But since I've talked with him now, like in the rest of the time, like he sent me copies. I think I've read the first 2 issues of the book, and I saw some of the Christmas stuff, and I also saw the digital handbook that he had put together. And so Adam, and then I've talked to him on the phone several times. That dude has like a 5-year plan for the Shit Show. Like he's like, my first story arc will be about this many issues, and then I want to do 2 one-shots with this character and this character. Wow. And then the following year I've got this story where we're going to visit this new team and all that. I was like, holy shit. Like he said, he's got this big vision board, with all the stuff scripted out. I was like, dude, that is crazy awesome. So he's got big plans for that Shit Show universe.
Yeah. For those that aren't familiar with Shit Show, I don't remember the main hero's name, but picture Frank Gallagher from Shameless, give him superpowers and see what the hell happens.
Yeah. So and I think the appeal of it is, now I'm completely outside of the loop. Like I have nothing to do with this project, but I believe they lived in a world where superheroes were very common. Then superheroes were either dead or outlawed. And so these guys had to go into hiding. And now they operate as a traveling circus in a world with no superheroes.
Okay. I didn't catch that vibe, but I read the one book, and it was when I was still trying to pump out 3 or 4 reviews a day. And so there, and so some of the stuff that, it was just, okay, read it. I remember I do like this, and I'm very curious to see where this is going, but I didn't remember all the nitty gritty other than just the 10-second, how would you just, if you have to describe a book to a friend real quickly, Frank Gallagher with powers is how I remember describing it.
Yeah. So Adam's got big plans. So that was my cover for the Shit Show that you can still, I believe the collective still has a couple of copies available online for anyone listening or watching.
Nice. Yeah. We're going to, do a quick shameless plug for anybody who likes what we're, if you like what we're seeing through Indie Comics Dispatch, we have a Patreon going. For as little as $3 a month, you can help be a patron, keep us going, keep us afloat, and along the way you get all sorts of cool swag. You get stickers, digital copies of books. You get exclusive patron only content from some of the interviews that we have from along the way with the shows. Go to patreon.com/Indie Comics Dispatch if you want to sign up for that.
I think it's a fair point. You should say comics with an X. Because if they type in comics dispatch.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I need to get used. I need to work on that part a bit more.
I'm not trying to give criticism. I'm trying to make sure that people get to the right Patreon.
that would be good. Yeah, you've done so many covers, honest, and stuff where I see on social media and whatnot, where I've just gone, I'm just at the point where, okay, the dude has a fucking grudge match against my wallet, because I saw this one.
I promise you, it's nothing personal. That is the cover for the second issue of Snow White Zombie Apocalypse.
Yeah, I saw that one. That one got posted, some way, shape, or form. I didn't see it. When I saw it, the Kickstarter was already over, which I was kind of bummed because I was going, that looks awesome. And and then it came full circle. The Kickstarter for Snow White Zombie Apocalypse 3 is out. Hey, for the low price of $50, you can get all three of them. Okay.
Oh, did you get the one with Hansel on top of the house?
I know I ordered all of the ones that you did.
Okay, so the first one was the werewolf with Granny popping out of the stomach. The second one was that one you just saw with the giant monster.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one was Hansel from Hansel and Gretel, kind of perched up on the roof of a gingerbread house.
Oh, okay, very cool. I had not seen that one yet. What was your take on being able to be part of Snow White Zombie Apocalypse? Because I got sent the digital copies, but I'm going to get the physical copy eventually, and I'll read and write about those. Plus, that'll buy me some more time to get through my current stack.
So I was at Dragon Con in Atlanta probably 3 or 4 years ago, and Brent was the creator of Snow White Zombie Apocalypse, and he found me at Dragon Con. He was dressed like Ryu from Street Fighter, and he found me, and we got to talking, and he's like, "Oh, my book just got signed to Scout. Maybe I need to talk to you about doing a cover." And so he introduced himself to me at Dragon Con, and that's at that point Loggerhead was not out, but I had done like 2 covers for the mall and the cover for Black Caravan at the time. And those are and Metal Shark Bro. So I had done all of those, and he was coming to me for a cover. And then after Dragon Con, he reached back out and said, "Hey, here's kind of what I'm thinking." So that's how I first got involved. But then when I was reading it and talking to him about like it's fairy tales, but in this horrific style, I was like, that's pretty cool, because he's incorporating many different fairy tales and kind of creating this singular world that they live in. And so I thought that was very fun.
Okay. I'm like, that's one of those I'm dying to read. I'm going, and that's the one thing I don't like about Kickstarters. It is okay, I paid for it, and call me guilty of wanting the instant gratification, but when you pay for it and then you have to wait and wait and wait. There's a book I backed last July that I still haven't received.
Yeah, I understand that plight as a consumer. So when personally, like, let's transition into Kickstarter real quick, which I've got one going right now, kieraprime.com, KERRA prime.com. When I bring something to Kickstarter, as of right now, everything I bring is 95% finished by the time I'm doing the Kickstarter. That way that I've paid for everything up front and out of my own pocket, so that anybody that backs the project gets a turnaround, like a 2-month or 3-month turnaround, depending on how fast I can get it back. But there's no waiting for it to be created. Like, I don't want to be in debt to the people that paid into the Kickstarter and then be like, "Sorry, my artist is being a douchebag, so I can't get the pages done," or "My letter's got other work going on, so I'm in line." Like, I don't want to have to give the people that backed my Kickstarter that kind of information. So if it takes me longer to complete the project than I wanted, then I don't need to set my Kickstarter date until I think that I can meet that date, which is what I've done for the April 13th thing on Kickstarter, kieraprime.com.
you know, and speaking of websites, I know you also, you have another website for, because I remember back in Halloween, around Halloween, you were working on a project for Inktober, all the He-Man universe, and because I was looking at it going, oh my gosh, I love this. As you can see behind me, I don't have the wall space.
Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. And here's the thing: the way that this whole doing a combined Inktober piece was, I think in 2014 I started being a part of Inktober. And for those that don't know, Inktober is an artist commitment to complete one inked drawing for every day in the month of October. So it's called Inktober. So when I first started, I did a paint pal every day. So I drew a spray paint can, like doing cosplay, but I would do it like it would be completely rendered. It wasn't a sketch. It was like a full on piece. And so by the time it got to the end of the month, I was like, this is fucking killing me. Like, this is just too much work. Like, I had to put in like 2 hours every night to draw a picture. But I was creating something. I thought I was making the next Funko Pop in my head. I was like, oh, these are going to be so collectible. It didn't turn out to be the case. But so that turned into either the next year or the year after that, I started doing sketch cards for Upper Deck and Tops. Okay. So I got my own brand of sketch cards. I made my own personal sketch cards, like that say Bryan SilverBax and have my website on them and stuff. And so they would be blank.
Okay.
So I would do one sketch card every day and follow a set of prompts that I found on a website. So one day it'll say Daredevil, the next day it'll say whatever. So you go down the row and you do all those. And then I was like, well, damn, I drew a whole bunch of shit and I don't like half of these things. Like, I don't care about frogs and lily pads or whatever, but I had to draw them for Inktober. So I didn't make any money. Like, so I was like, well, this isn't working for someone who's trying to eat on this money. So fast forward to like 2019, maybe, 2019, I was like, I'm just going to do one drawing with 31 different parts. And then as long as they have a cohesive theme, then I can just make this one piece and I can sell copies of that piece and it should be okay. Like, it'll be, so that's how it started. So in 2019, I did horror people. I did, Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, Chucky, the Leprechaun,
nice.
Pumpkinhead, all those things. So I came up with 31 and people really enjoyed the poster style like you just showed, but with horror people. And then, so fast forward to 2020, I'm trying to come up with a theme for my my Inktober piece because I need to get it in motion. I didn't want to do like something that everybody can go to a convention and everybody has. Everybody has Batman villains. Everybody has like Spidey villains and like there's all that stuff already. So I was trying, my options in my head were, I want to do like wrestlers, or I want to do G.I. Joe, or I want to do Mortal Kombat characters, Street Fighter characters, or like He-Man. And I was like, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And at the time, the He-Man figures were relaunching and stuff. And I was well, I enjoyed He-Man as a kid. So that's how we landed on Masters of the Universe being last year, which now for this October, I have no idea where I'm going to go.
G.I. Joe all the way.
I don't, but see, I want to have, G.I. Joe for me, it's a lot of humans, like regular humans. And I want to have fun. So if you look at the He-Man piece that you brought up, like I tried to pick the ones that look funky, like not only the ones that I had, but I didn't want it to be boring, like 30 human faces. Like if that was all 30 white males, dressed in army fatigues, that'd be a boring ass piece. And so, and that's what, for me, that's what a G.I. Joe piece would probably look like. But if I did like a Mortal Kombat piece, you've got some ninjas, you got some monsters, you got Baraka, like you got all this other cool shit. And so the appeal of drawing not human stuff is also what gets me.
That explains, because I remember when you were putting when you were taking feelers, going, okay, here's my mental list of who you were going to put on here, and I was going, dear God, don't put Jitsu on there. And when I
Jitsu's on there.
I know, but I was going, don't put him on there. To me, there were so many other characters that from He-Man that would have been better. Grizzlor or Leech from the Horde.
Yeah, I thought about that, and then I was like, well, Leech is just going to have this big, because I was trying to draw them much like their action figure counterpart, as opposed to how they were done in the television show. And Leechor was just this big boop. And so I didn't have, and for Jitsu, I included him because he was an Asian character. And I included Clamp Champ because he's the only African-American character in the Masters of the Universe collection. So I was like, I want to make sure that I know that it's all fictional, but I wanted to make sure.
Holy shit. I didn't realize that until just now. Thank you for enlightening me.
Yeah, so and I never had Clamp Champ. I didn't even know that Clamp Champ was a Masters of the Universe figure, because I was really having to come up with 31 different characters that I thought looked unique. And most of those, out of the 31, I probably owned 28 of them personally, like at one point in time.
Yeah, I remember I got Modulok for Christmas when I was in first grade, and hey, you can take all these different things apart, and they'd never go back. I could never get the different parts to stay attached to the hips, or the abdomen section. So, all those different possible combinations that number went down very, very quickly for me. Yeah. And I know that the He-Man print was listed on SilverBax.com for sale. How many do you have left?
I don't know the exact number, but I believe I had 100 of those, or no, I had 50 of those printed up. So maybe I probably have like 15 left. And then, that'll put us right around the time for this year's Inktober piece to get made. So when you buy a print from me, they're all limited number prints. Okay. So once that 50 is gone, that'll be at the end of that.
God, I wish I'm still mentally going, wondering, hey, honey, how much would you mind having all the He-Man characters in the living room?
I appreciate the consideration, though.
Also, I do know on silverbax.com, because I just took advantage of it the other day. It's sight unseen. I don't know what the movie homage is going to be, but Recount, the cover for Recount number 4 that Bryan did, it's available on the website. You can get the book with an autograph and a remark, which is a fancy way of saying a little drawing on the cover that he's going to do. You get all of that shipped to your home for $31.
Yeah, I think they will, by the time anybody probably listens to this outside of the live stream, the reveal will be in 24 hours from now. So it could already be known what the cover is. But as of right this very minute upon recording, the cover hasn't been revealed. And so it's just an opportunity for people to secure the cover, to more like complete the collection that they've started. And just know that they were going to buy it regardless of what the cover art is. Even though the cover art for me it's hard for me to say if I like the Scarface cover more or less than the cover that's going to be revealed tomorrow. Like, out of the 4 covers, I believe the first one and the fourth one are the strongest.
How many of this cover are available for those people that like to get their limited edition stuff?
There will be 250 total. Jonathan will have 125 of them, and I will have 125 copies. And then once we're sold out, that is the end of that cover.
Okay. So you hear that, folks? So, silverbax.com, they have 124 left at the most right now.
Oh, well, I'm sure we don't have that many. I think I sold 40 in the past 2 days. But so while you're at silverbax.com, if you also go into the digital comic section, there's a free digital download of a preview for the Kiera Prime project that goes live on Kickstarter on April 13th.
Awesome.
It's a free download for anybody. Like, you can get, what you do is it tells you all of the creators involved with the project, as well as gives you a couple of samples of some of the page art so that you can see the quality of work that you're getting. So it's like a digital teaser sample to kind of whet your appetite and get familiar a little bit with the project that's going live on April 13th.
Yeah. And with you talking about Kickstarter, it's a great way to segue into one of my other questions for you, because with Indie Comics Dispatch, I'm not, I know that for the most part, I seem to end up having guests that are, usually a bit more closer to the mainstream, but, we it's in our name. We try to focus on the indie comics, the small press publishing people, a lot of the companies that are and organizations where the creative teams are relying on Kickstarter and crowdfunding to make it happen. What's your advice to everybody and, who's trying to try to make it happen?
Shit. My only piece of advice is to treat people like you'd want to be treated. Like, holy shit. It's just, I honestly, I don't know enough. I haven't done a whole lot of Kickstarters myself. I've seen successful ones and I've seen some that failed, and I can't put together, there's so many variables in everybody's Kickstarter campaign that I wouldn't be able to formulate here's a road to success. But I can tell you that if you network and make friends and be friendly with other creators, there's a boundless amount of information that you can absorb through talking to these people, but they're not going to give you much advice if you're a dickhead or if you're constantly acting like you know everything. So I say, if you would like to have a successful Kickstarter, understand that you don't know shit and just sit back and listen and try to absorb information like that. It's just, and if somebody, and then to complete that circle of life, Elton John, when someone comes to you in a couple of years and asks you for advice, then you be that fucking Jedi master that passes it to the Padawan learner. Which is, that's how you pay that back. But that only happens if you know how to treat people and you're like, wow, I came off like a dick. I need to apologize. Just sit back and think about the people that you're interacting with, I think, is the biggest takeaway of how to have a successful Kickstarter.
Excellent. And I know you talked about Kiera Prime a little bit, saying there's going to be there you've got some digital promo material on your website at SilverBax.com. For the people that like for me, it's with my phone, it's really hard to be able to have to download digital content because I'm running out of space on my phone. I need to start getting rid of some pictures, but until then, so how would you describe the Kiera Prime universe to people that aren't familiar with it and can't get to the website?
Right. So let me give you and I can't say elevator pitch because I'm just going to put out too much information. So it's a little bit, you'd have to be like an elevator pitch for the Sears Tower or something. But so
we could take the stairs. I don't care.
In this fictional world that I've created called Kiera Prime, World War III has already happened. And we're past that now. The United States has a concrete wall running through it, separating one side from the other completely. And in this world, aliens exist and interact on our planet as regular beings that just live here. So it's not new that aliens live here. And during the battle, during the World War, it tore holes in our atmosphere that now our atmosphere is constantly ridden with wormholes and stuff. And that's what allows time jumps and shit like that. So the world that we live in is very
cool.
It's very anything can happen.
Influx.
And so that's what the world of Kiera Prime is. So that's where, and here's the thing, when you get the handbook that was published last year, or you get this new book that goes on sale April 13th, they both come with like a 2-page, the elevator pitch of what Kiera Prime is. Like, here's what happened. Here's how they got there. Here's what the president did. Here's how this group operates. Here's why there's a big wall in the middle of the United States. Here's the setup for everything that we're going to create from here on out. Like, you get it a very much like a novelization of how we got here.
Okay.
And then we get into the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I know on social media I've seen, it looked like you were working on a little bit of like a toy line. They reminded me of Wrestling Buddies.
Oh, I brought some. So I really liked the Wrestling Buddies. What I didn't bring down here, I made them like when we bought those Wrestling Buddies in the 80s, they were 26 inches tall. Like, they were big. And so I made one myself, and the cost to the consumer I felt would be too high. I didn't think anybody would pay $50 for a pillow of a character they've never seen before. So with the advice of some of the feedback that I got online, I cut that size in half so that I could, for the same amount of fabric that it takes to make these and the same amount of stuffing that it would take to make one, I can make two. And then now I can sell them for $25 a piece. And I think that's a little bit more manageable. So they're half the size, but I'll tell you what, my grandkids have a shitload of fun playing with, he doesn't call them Apex, Chance calls them Apex. But so he likes Apex. And then they don't really call this guy Deadlift. They don't call him anything. Then this guy, this is actually a female character. I tried to make boobies on there, but she's got hair.
Oh, that's cool.
I sewed some hair in there so that way when you get Bloody Mary, she's going to come with hair for her crazy ass. So these are all handmade, and these are these are like their own little add-on inside of the Kickstarter, where there's a set of 4. Like you get Apex, you get Loggerhead, you get Bloody Mary, and you get Deadlift. You get all 4 of them as a set. Like, it's not a buy one get one. It's you buy the set of 4, or you don't get them. And simply because I don't have like a manufacturing, like they take a lot of time and effort to put together.
They look awesome though.
I don't want to do it for just one.
Yeah. Is that because I thought a while ago I saw a sculpting project in the works. It looked like you were trying to do a figure of Loggerhead. Can I be hoping to see one soon?
Here's the thing with that. So what I did was Titus, who does online sales in Tennessee, Titus sent me an Abomination Build-A-Figure. Okay. And I modified the Abomination Build-A-Figure with all the clay to make him into Loggerhead, because what I was trying to do was cast a statue. So I didn't have the ability to cast a statue. So once I did all of that clay work, I was like, well, now what do I do? Well, I know Alexis, the Playful Gorilla up in Pennsylvania, who's a toy maker. I was like, hey, if I send this to you, maybe you can help me get a couple of these cast so that I can, have these produced at home or whatever. And he was like, sure, man, I'll help you out. Just send it up here. So I packaged it up as best I could. And when it got there, it was fucking broken. And that is the end of that.
Oh, okay. That's unfortunate.
That is where that project died.
Yeah, because I've got all sorts of display cases, around here in Nerdvana.
I still do have hopes that we will have a line of little. I'm trying now. First off, this shit is not cheap at the level where I'm asking people to do just one-offs. So. When I'm telling you that I'm doing stuff, like, just know that I'm having to pay full retail price to have this shit, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Like these things, like I'm still working on getting them down to a better. So it's all, just know that you're getting something that I put a lot of work into. But I'm having to pay for it out of pocket because I don't want to do a Kickstarter where I owe people something they're not going to see for a year. You know what I mean?
That makes
so
sense.
I am working with, I'm trying to set up a way to have like little vinyl guys that have moving legs and moving arms, like not full on action figures, but little vinyl posable things. So I am working with somebody to come. So do you remember Battle Beasts?
Oh my God, yes. They grow into an army.
So I want to kind of have that Battle Beast size, because they were about that big, like 3 inches of Battle Beast, and you had to put your little thumb on there to reveal if they were wood, fire,
wood, or water.
But I don't want to have that element. But they were very static, but they had posable arms and they could twist their head. So the legs and the body stayed in place. And then so I'm working on trying to come up with something like that. I'm trying to find someone to work with on that. But I don't do 3D modeling. So I have to find someone that can do that, and then I have to find someone that can mold it and all this shit. So it's a long process, but the goal is to have something like that.
Okay, that'll be fun. I wanted to ask you on your Kickstarter, the different reward, what are your different reward tiers going to be? But by that I mean, because there's different, there's, the, hey, back a project just because you feel like it, and I've seen, okay, you can get the digital comic for anywhere from $3 to $8, a physical comic for $10, the variant covers and so on and so forth. Kind of one of those things where the more you contribute, the better the stack gets.
All right. So the general breakdown for the way that the Tales of Kiera Prime Kickstarter is going to go. Plus, we haven't really gotten into the fact that there are 16 plus stories inside this book, and each story is done by a separate creative team. So there's over 25 creative people on this project, like authors, writers, artists, illustrators, logo designers. Like, there's so many badass people involved in this that I'm just honored that they felt like working with me. So I don't want to discount that at all. I don't know if that's in the questions, but as far as the way the campaign is going to be set up is, just know this: you can get a digital copy for $10. And you can get it, and because it's going to be over 80 pages. So this isn't a floppy comic. This is like an 80 to 100 page thing. I just don't know the final number yet.
This thing's going to be the size of a trade paperback.
So you get a digital copy for $10 and a physical copy for $20. And that is all of the original content, basically. There's going to be some other stuff, but here's the thing. My campaign is designed to get eyeballs on products, not to gouge people for money. So there is no gold cover. There is no virgin cover. There is no $1 million into the Kickstarter and we got the diamond reflective hollow foil cover by Art Germ. Like, not that I don't appreciate those things, but my goal with this campaign is to get people to pick up the product and see what we've got going on with Kiera Prime. So the way that all the stretch goals are going to work are not monetarily based. It's backer based. So when I reach, so the first goal is at 222 backers. So an additional thing will be unlocked. At 333 backers, another thing will be unlocked. And what we're not doing is we're not unlocking stuff that you can add to your pledge. Everybody who gets the hard copy gets everything that's unlocked. So it sweetens the pot for everybody at no additional charge, if that makes any sense. So once you've made your $20 commitment or your $20 pledge,
stretch goals, I love them.
When all the stretch goals get, like, if we knock out the first 3 stretch goals, like, you could get a 2 trading cards, a bookmark, and a slip cover for your graphic novel. Like, but whatever it is, no matter the amount of shit that we unlock, everybody is getting it. There's no hierarchy of everybody who ordered the super platinum package, you're going to get a free whatever this is. Like, so anything that's unlocked through stretch goals, everybody who ordered a physical copy will be able to get. Okay, and so that's my goal, is to keep the price cheap. You're getting a lot of shit for $20, and the stretch goals are backer based, so we can try to increase the amount of people that participate. I'm not trying to break money records.
So there's only so the way I understand it, there's the 3 tiers. I can back Kiera Prime because I believe in it. I can get the digital copy or the
I don't want to give you the full rundown, but yes, the basic thing is you can pledge, just to be a super buddy. You can pledge for a digital copy. You can pledge for the digital copy and the physical copy. And then like the layer under that is get all of that shit plus like a little floppy comic that you can go get signed. Like, it's not new content. It's just something that is like a basic abbreviated version of the book so that you can get it signed. And then everything else outside of that is really like add-on. So you can add on a copy of the handbook. You can add on an additional copy of the graphic novel if you want. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can add on yourself, but are not restricted to being some sort of part of the pledge, like based on your pledge. Okay. Ooh, Zelda.
Congratulations!
So the campaign is to really expose Kiera Prime. So Kiera Prime, and the part of what's going to let me know what kind of anticipation I should have for backers is the people that follow the pre-launch page that can say, notify me, when this Kickstarter goes live. You know how Kickstarter has that option?
Yeah. So
that's available right now when you go to kieraprime.com. Is you go to kieraprime.com and say, notify me. And the larger that number gets, lets me understand so that I can gauge how many more stretch goals and stuff I should probably add or start getting my mind wrapped around of what to prepare for. So that's what I'm asking people to do right now up until April 13th is to go to kieraprime.com and click the button that says, tell me when this shit goes live.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then that same, once the project is live, kieraprime.com will take you right to the page anyway. So it's not like I'm going to ask you to remember a different URL. Like you can you're like, oh, it's April 14th. Okay. Oh, no, you can still go to kieraprime.com and it'll just be the actual launch page of the campaign.
That'll help. So 2019 was a lot of fun as far as cons went. Then last year happened. Before all that, before everything from 2020, were you big on going to cons?
I was on my downward streak because in 2018, I think I did every show I could possibly do. And then, but I found myself, and this is, I found myself almost becoming like a whore to trendy content. So my goal at that time was to make a print of everything that ever had a fandom so that I could have the biggest, most tallest wall of fan art and somebody would buy stuff from me. And I noticed that I wasn't drawing things that I liked necessarily. I was drawing things with the intent of trying to make money on some shit I didn't care about. And so in 2019, I said, I'm not doing any more fan art. Fuck that. I'm not going to be the guy that makes a living on all the IPs that I have nothing to do with. And so that was when I started focusing on coming up with Kiera Prime and coming up with Loggerhead. And I was like, I'm just going to sell my comic books. And I want to be the guy that sells my own personal comic books. So in 2019, I kind of took the fan art down and then just said, hey, I'm Bryan and I make shit. Come look at my stuff. and nobody cared. And I don't mean nobody, but dude, the financial difference between fan art guy and I make my own shit guy in Artist Alley are very, very different. And so towards the end of 19 and back into 2020, I told myself, I said, you know what? I'm going to have to find this balance. I'm going to have fan art to make some money, but I don't need to have the huge wall of fan art to the ceiling. And I'm going to do stuff that I like and just hope that I can move it. So what I've done, so 2020 allowed me to reevaluate mentally how I was going to approach this. So I'm going to be like carrying 10 different fan art pieces, but each fan art piece has a limited run and they're all individually numbered. And most of them are like 50 copies a piece, right? So it'll say number 20 of 50, 22 of 50, whatever. So, and once that 50 is gone, then I'll do a different piece of fan art for something different so that I only have 10 pieces of fan art at a time. And I don't feel like I'm a whore for doing 20 Deadpools and Harley Quinns. And, you know, I've got 18 Batmans and, you know, I didn't want to turn into that, but I still wanted to be able to do the fan art to bring people in to look at my work and then try to tell them about all the comic book projects I have going on.
Yeah. And I do agree with you. It is a fine line because, as a fan, I'm the guy that was walking around, I love Artist Alley just because looking around and seeing all the prints. I might not have room for them, but that doesn't, periodically, seriously, periodically, even though I have no wall space, I will buy print if I like the artwork enough. There was, when Emerald City Comic Con was supposed to happen last year, around the same time, there was an artist that I had made friends with on social media that posted a big thing of Metroplex. I'm not sure if you remember him from Transformers. He was the Autobot base that turned into this huge robot, and the artwork was so well done. I went, that one's going to knock one of my others out of a frame, and it's going up.
That's awesome.
So periodically, if the artwork is good enough, I will go yes. Like so I'm that He-Man print, I'm still going. It's really close to, if I'm doing a little bit of mental juggling, going, okay, if I move this and I can put that there.
Yeah.
But I loved that. I loved being able to interact, with all the different creators, artists, writers.
We could do a whole nother podcast on how 2020 has mentally taken its toll on the people that enjoy going to conventions. And I don't want it to come across as selfish because we've all, but like for me, I work at home and that was my real only way to like interact and enjoy the company of like that amount of like-minded people and stuff. And so, dude, it was tough for everybody, but I am very much looking forward to safely conducting conventions moving forward, or whatever the situation dictates. I'm ready to shake hands and kiss babies and draw some sketches and sign books.
Oh, absolutely. We're all trying to do our part. I got my COVID shot this afternoon for round 1, so we're on the way to making it where theoretically can't get sick. Which or at least if I get sick, it won't be from that. I run a security checkpoint at an airport from time to time. I'm going to run into things. It's kind of a given. I do agree with you. There's a lot about 2020 that really sucked. I lost Dad to a long bout with congestive heart failure. We lost all. I had several different cons that I had tickets to that. Well, hey, that's not happening. I was supposed to take my family.
Also, like for me, all the shows that got canceled, like that's rent for me.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
That's so when shows get canceled, I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to figure out another way to make rent that month. Or that show canceled, like that was gonna be bill money. Like that's how I make a living. So there was no shows to go to in 2020. And even if you could find a show that was trying to get away with stuff, the turnout is not nearly going to be enough to get that bill money.
Yeah, because I remember in like April or May, there was a couple of shows in Florida where I was going, wow, how are you guys doing that?
Dude, it's Florida. They're just walking around with bikinis hanging off their nose or something. I don't know. But whatever I'm looking for, I really don't want to dwell on it because I know that there's a lot of people that dealt with a lot of issues in 2020. And the fact that you had to do it more than likely alone because you couldn't go and share it with your coworkers or share it with your friends as much. And that's not the kind of shit you need to be posting on Facebook for people to poke fun at you and trolls to have fun of. So a lot of us have a lot of things that we had to internally deal with last year. And I'm looking forward to 21 being the chance where we can start to interact with other human beings.
I agree with you about all the negative stuff from 2020. What were some of the positives that came out of 2020 for you?
I was able to get a lot of work done. So I think in 2020, I learned a little bit more about navigating social media and trying to use it to facilitate eyeballs on product. I'm by no means great, but I do think that I was able to hone that skill a little bit. And it gave me time to also network more on social media to find other people that would want to commission me to do a cover for their book, or that I may in the future ask them to be a part of my Kiera Prime anthology. So there was a lot, for me, it was a lot of networking and a lot of building content so that when 21, when I start doing shows by the end of the year in 2022 and I'm out there and I'm kissing the babies and shaking hands and shit, I'll still have new content because I was working, even though it didn't pay very well, I was still working during 2020.
Very true. And one of the other things that we do every single show is I call it the force board for lack of creativity on my part. Basically it's kind of a poster board. I've got all the different Star Wars movies, the prequels, the originals, the last three, Solo, the Ewok movies, and Rogue One.
All right.
And I also have your name.
All right. What are we doing?
I'm waiting to see where, with all the different Star Wars movies that there've been over the years, which one would where would I be putting your name as a personal favorite? You don't have to justify your answer to me. Or as far as there's no wrong answer.
I do want to get some clarity. Like I want my answer. I want people to want to get to know me. And so I want to justify the choice and not justify it, but simply state my reasons why so that maybe people can identify with it.
Yeah. By that I mean, there's no judgment, because there are, my kids absolutely love the prequels.
I was happy that the prequels were coming and I was happy to have new content, but I don't feel that it felt very cartoon. And I wasn't a fan of the cartoon, and not just Jar Jar Binks, but I'm like the special effects, all the monstery kind of it didn't feel as genuine for me as the original trilogy. But let me get back to that. So I didn't grow up with a huge appreciation for Star Wars as a child. Like I didn't collect Star Wars. I didn't go to the movie theater to watch the movies.
Okay.
But I was a He-Man and a G.I. Joe guy. So as we did that stuff, those same people were also fans of Star Wars. So I became aware of Star Wars, but we didn't have a VCR. So if you didn't go see it in the movie theaters and you didn't own a VCR, you probably didn't see the movies. So I really didn't become a super fan of Star Wars until I believe like the first DVD release, when they released the original trilogy on DVD, like the one
that's been a while.
Stuff. So that was when I treated myself to a sit down more adult way of watching the original Star Wars. So that's when I started watching Star Wars. But with that said, I had and I appreciated them, but I didn't like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever, because I wasn't as young as a lot of people were when they first discovered it. So I just didn't have that button for me.
I can appreciate that.
But what I did like, so for me, I liked Rogue One, and I thought Solo wasn't bad. But I have to say the one that really makes me, that feels like it's really on par and felt really promising, was the first Rey one, The Force Awakens, I believe.
Okay.
And simply because even though it felt like a retread of the other Star Wars, it had a better presentation to me, because now special effects are so much better than they were during the original trilogy. And this is a cast that I've watched. I've watched this come together through social media and teasers and all this other stuff. So I had more of a vested interest in this movie than I did with any of the ones prior to it. And so for me, it felt really good and it felt really polished. But being removed from the actual release, I can see where it was really just a retread, and then it just went off the rails. But so for me, that one is the one that I think I had the most fun with.
Okay. I have you right there.
I'm the only one. Yeah, not a lot of people are going to pick that one.
Well, there's, like I say, there is no judgment, because, to me, it's, the equivalent of, okay, who's your favorite He-Man character? We all have our personal favorites.
Yeah, I don't know that my personal favorite He-Man character, I don't even remember what the character was like in the show. I just remembered that it was my favorite because of the toy. And that was Trapjaw. Yeah. So Trapjaw was my faget He-Man toy, because he had the hole in his head and you could put
a string through it.
You get your brother to hold up the fishing line at one end and you go, let's go. And it served no purpose. It wasn't like a quick release. It was like, oh yeah, he can slide on a rope. Really cool. But I guess none of the others could do that. And he had the jaw where you pull it down, it would snap back up. And I thought that was just awesome. And I'm a big fan of purple and blue.
And on top of that, he also had the arm with all the different hands you could put in there.
Yes.
So there was Trapjaw had a lot going for him. I know they did. I don't remember which company it was, but there was one version of him that was done where I went, oh my gosh, $30. I'm going to be doing that, because it seems like for me, my magic number tends to be $35 and under. Anything under, in that window, it's easier for me to justify.
All right. Well, just know that $20 will get you a full 80 plus pages of Kiera Prime with 25 different creators on it. Just know that it falls within your you can justify it, Mark.
Well, and on top of that, in a couple of weeks, I'm working a shift for a buddy, so I can, I'm picking up some extra hours. I will have some extra play money and that'll be hitting my bank account just about the middle of the campaign. So that'll be perfect.
Well, thank you for that. But yeah, so that's where we sit. And I thank you for letting me talk about Kiera Prime. I really hope that people look at the list of names that are involved in the product, because there's way cooler people than me that are a part of it, that just knowing that they're a part of it should let you know that we're doing something kind of cool.
Just knowing, because I've also, I've been a consumer on some of your stuff for, over a year now. So I've got a little bit more of a bit more of a basis to go off. I'm not that, I'm not the guy that at the con that you have to make your 5-second elevator pitch while you still have my attention, so I already know it's going to kick ass and take names. I'm just waiting, I'm just going,
I very much appreciate it, sir. And you know, what's exciting to me more than just the Kickstarter itself is I'm pretty sure that the project will be funded and there'll be people that's eyeballs getting a look at it. But I want to hear the feedback from the people that do back the campaign. I want to know, what was your favorite story? What do you want to see happen with which character? Which ones did you find the least entertaining and why? Like, I want that feedback so that we can work on putting together a more streamlined product for the next time.
That makes perfect sense.
So I'm hoping that people will be kind enough to give us some feedback once they get a copy.
Well, you already know you're going to be seeing my, the feedback on my take on it, so
yeah, I may end up sliding you a preview copy once the campaign goes live, so that you can drop your review during the.
Absolutely, get a copy to me and give me a couple days to turn it around.
Because I don't want to give anybody the complete PDF, but I can give you like a couple of stories. I mean, there are like 16 and then some secret stories inside of the book that I can send you a couple of them. And you can be like, all right, this seems pretty fucking cool.
Absolutely. Like say, hook me up with whatever you want and give me a day or two to, for turnaround time, and I'll have it up. I should be able to have it read and posted on my page, and a couple days, within a few days of that, it'll be on the dispatch. So, you have a couple different choices.
And in the meantime, anybody listening can go to SilverBax.com and get themselves that free digital teaser, which kind of gives you a little bit more information on what we're doing.
Yeah, it should be a very fun and exciting campaign. I'm gonna have to see about having you come back on the show, a few months after that campaign, when everybody's starting to have that hit their mailbox, so we can go over, hey, what kind of feedback have you gotten?
And hopefully by that time you'll already be able to reach out to a couple of the other creators, because I certainly do not want to hog the spotlight as far as the amount of badasses that have lent their talents to this project.
Well, what I'm kind of thinking is, for around, when we do this the next time, because I can have up to 10 people on the show. Sorry, I'm going to be selfish. I'm keeping one of the spots on my show, but so I can have 9 people, 9 more people come on as guests. So
let me offer some advice to that. When a lot of shows do the multiple people on the streaming, it's harder for us as the viewers to appreciate that, because as you're talking over each other, you're clipping in and out. And I like the more organic conversation of, you ask a question, I respond because I know you're talking to me. But when you ask a question, you got 3 people with their thumbs up their ass, and they're like, oh, well, I guess I'll go first. Like, that kind of, it takes away the streamline of the interview. And I don't know how you would do it, but I'm saying in general, the more squares that I see on the screen, the less likely I am to tune into it.
I can respect that. I know in a couple of weeks, I've got I have Livio Raimondelli and Tyler Blazinski coming on. They wrote Transformer Galaxies 1 through 4, where you got the origin story of Devastator.
Oh,
so, Tyler was the writer. Livio was the artist. I got the band back.
Congrats on that.
I got the band. So I got the band back together for that show. So that's going to be my first time having more than one guest. Next week, for those that are, if you're so inclined, it's a little bit later show time. It's going to be 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. I have Bob Budiansky coming on the show. You know him best as the guy that created the Transformer universe as we know it.
You got to think about the Transformers kit going on. I don't have any mechs inside of Kiera Prime yet, but I'll tell you this, for you mech lovers out there, there is one story inside this Tales of Kiera Prime anthology that's coming out, which does involve a type of mech thing. So it's not huge. Nice. Like, I don't have a whole robot mech world yet, but there is at least one mech type dealio going on inside the book, and it was drawn by Alex Ogle.
Okay,
and by him, he wrote it. Andrew,
that should be a lot of fun. But yeah, you can ask my buddy Jim or a few of the other people that I work with. I've had a Transformer kit going for probably a couple decades.
I don't blame you, dude. I really love Transformers. I probably, maybe that was on my Mount Rushmore that I just forgot, because I really loved Transformers. Like when the triple changes came out, that blew my fucking mind. Like how you can be three things. You could be two things and a robot. And I was like, let me get that. So I think the one that I remember the best was Springer and Astro Train were the two.
I remember Astro Train
that I got the most work out of.
I remember there was one. It was a jumbo jet, a robot, and I don't remember what the third thing was. But that one I was kind of disappointing because I remember getting that one for Christmas and going, I got a Transformer, but next.
Yeah, Transformers were a lot of fun and continue to be a lot of fun. And fuck everybody who talks shit about the Michael Bay Transformers, because you got to admit that is some fun popcorn movie watching, even though it's not the Transformers that you grew up and loved.
And honestly, movie. For the most part, I defend the Michael Bay movies. I didn't care for.
Let's not get too carried away. There is some straight up piles of shit inside of those movies, but overall, they're very fun to watch. It's very cinematic, and you really get to turn your brain off and just watch a really clean and well put together action movie.
Yeah, I really liked the first two. Starting with Dark of the Moon, it seemed to go down off the cliff a little bit, but it was I still like the premise of it, but especially by the time we got to Age of Extinction with the Dinobots, I was so disappointed with the Dinobots and what we got.
It did deviate far enough to lose a lot of people. And the writing, like I said, the writing and the forethought, there was no Kevin Feige planning this whole shit out. They were like, oh, that one worked. Let's see what we can come up with to tell this other story. So, but they're fun to watch. So,
absolutely.
All that aside, Michael Bay movies are fun to watch.
I will agree on that wholeheartedly. But at that point, on that note, though, we've hit about an hour and a half, and I need to start making sure that my Rugrats are, have eaten dinner and are not getting into too much trouble setting each other's hair on fire while I'm doing the show.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
It'd be entertaining, but and terrible in case my wife watches this later. But I have to say thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me, Q dog.
I've had so much fun tonight. Woo!
Thank you, man. So I appreciate anybody that goes to kieraprime.com, pre-registers for the book April 13th, or just stay involved with SilverBax.com or find Bryan SilverBax on any social media.
Excellent. And like I say, next week, 6:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific, Bob Budiansky on the show. It'll be a good time. Until then, everybody, thank you for watching. Have a good evening.
Stay creative.